to the Coffee Table Talks. Mark, I love your little O face. You just put in the chat. That's awesome.
Gotta be careful about.
There's a countdown too. Yes, there was a countdown too. Hello and good morning. Welcome to the Coffee Table Talks. If you're new here, yay! If you're coming back, also yay! My name is Rachel Arnold. I am known as the Human API because somebody said so that's worked in this industry longer than me with Secure Nation. With me, as always, is Will McCullen, the program manager at the IT Center for Excellence at Pima Community College in Tucson, Arizona. Bam! Nailed it. Up in our upper right corner is Levy, dark web. That's what you need to know. And our guest today, so excited you could come and hang out for a little while, Mark Kikta, global cybersecurity leader. Which I am just like, congratulations, you're a CISO.
Not yet, but yeah.
Almost. So what's the difference? What's the biggest difference between a global cybersecurity leader and CISO?
So I am the director of cybersecurity engineering and operations at Whirlpool Corporation. So I don't own the risk side of the governance, risk, and compliance side of the house and the cybersecurity training side of the house. Now, that being said, if you're in security, everybody is responsible for risk. But the management and all that portion and that accountability is under our CISO.
Oh, that's nice. Wasn't your last gig more GRC related or no?
No, my last gig was actually a lot more operations focused
Gotcha.
when I was at Zendesk, focusing on the monitoring and response very tactically.
Oh, very cool. So, but every time I've noticed something through your career journey, right? Because we were just talking about this in the pre-show. The first time I met Mark, I was like, it was like, what, 4 years ago? Mark's like, no, it was 7. Oh, that happens. So 7 years ago, Mark was one of my favorite, like, were you a sales engineer?
I was the chief security architect of RedLegg, but I mean, I was on all the calls doing sales stuff. And
you were like everywhere. Every time I talked to anybody about RedLegg, Mark was there, and he had he was my favorite. So whenever I deal with anybody in the sales realm, Mark is my person that I want to talk to all the time. Be like Mark. Okay. Mark understood, and obviously you needed to, right? Thank you for helping me figure out what your title was there, because all I was Mark's the dude. Like, we're gonna ask Mark. If you have a question, we're asking Mark. But super knowledgeable. And one thing I really loved about getting to know you professionally was that if it wasn't a fit, you immediately were like, I would love to be able to help you, but this isn't going to help you. This is not do what X, Y, and Z that you want. It can do A, B, C, right? But it's not. And he was so honest and forthcoming about it. You guys, Mark is like the best. Like,
I start blushing now.
I know. Is that good? Did I start it off well? Now you're just going to be blushed and embarrassed for the next 15 minutes?
Well, Rachel, you need to put up Rob's comment.
Which one?
Rob is so right. Welcome to the coffee talks. You don't need to be crazy to attend. We will train you.
Oh, absolutely.
And whenever we make shirts, that should be the catchphrase on the back.
I am. I'm always willing to train you. Oh yeah, let's talk about shirts really quick, because that's perfectly into what Mark is. Will always asks, "What's your message to the world?" Right? Because he wants to make sure he hits on that. Yeah. And he always asks, "What's your message to the world?" Mark's like, "Go to GurCon." So the T-shirt that Will is wearing is the Coffee Table Talk T-shirt from GurCon, and the T-shirt that Mark is wearing that you can't see is a previous GurCon T-shirt, which I just found out. I was today years old when I found out that our guest from last week, Chris Payne, is the artist for the majority of the artwork revolving around GurCon, and I'm so impressed.
Cool.
Yep, he's had some help from some other folks throughout the years, but especially for the past few years, he's been the primary on that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's really cool. If everyone on the stream is good, I may be able to give a sneak preview of this year's shirt design.
You better ask Chris, because he's gonna come.
Fine.
Chris, I had nothing to do with this.
I did. Hi.
Rob, my title is Director of Cybersecurity Engineering and Operations at Whirlpool.
Got you. Rob asked, my nerd question. Yeah. My answer, nerd on staff actual title, is too long and doesn't explain it half as well. Look, whenever I joined Activision Blizzard, I was like, so what position would you like for, like, my position didn't exist yet. Like created it. They didn't have somebody specific to the cybersecurity team that was going to help maintain contracts and pull these things together and like be that person. They had somebody from like procurement and sourcing, right? That was specific to IT, but cybersecurity is a bit of a different animal sometimes whenever you're gathering requirements and some of the, extra curricular steps you need to go through before you talk about your cybersecurity program as it is and where you want it to go with a vendor. Like, that's my long-winded way of saying sign an NDA.
Always sign an NDA.
Always be one on file.
If you want to exchange phone numbers, sign an NDA. You never know.
Sign an NDA. And that's not just me wearing my tinfoil hat. Sign an NDA and be very close with your legal people all the time. Anywho.
I'm saying that as somebody who's been trying to get their number off of Zoom Info for the past 4 years.
I can help
you. So if you want my personal cell number, go pay Zoom Info. I'm not saying you should do it. I'm not encouraging it. But also, lessons learned, never use your personal cell. It'll never go away.
No, it won't.
No, it won't. It keeps on getting dumped over and over and over again. I just gave up. If you guys go find my phone number somewhere, it's my cell phone number. Here's the trick. I don't answer it.
No. If someone messages any of my phones and it's not someone I pre-planned to talk to, they immediately get blocked.
Yep. That's how that works. If you call me from a number that is not already saved in my phone, I don't answer that. You have to text first.
Yeah.
And tell me who you are and what do you want. And then I'm going to call you from not my number and verify all of that. And then I save you in my phone. There's a process. I have one. It's small. It takes a few extra steps, but it's there. Can't put baby in a corner. Wait, what? What did I miss? I'm missing so many things. So many things.
It's one of those days.
I like Will's comment. I used to say that I worked on the systems that make the largest number of people angry in the shortest period of time. Yup.
Networking.
Identity and access management.
I think literally every little crevice of cybersecurity could claim that title. Depending on the day.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're breaking. I'm just a spider. I'm just about 1 million spiders in a trench coat. That's my title. That's all I do.
So I met you whenever you started kind of on the vendor side of the house with RedLegg, right? So how did you get there? Let's back it up. Let's fill in the blanks for Rachel. How did you
this was a weird kind of atypical journey, right? So when I was a kid, I played around with computers. I think we all played around with computers a little bit. In an age where the feds didn't get as involved in kids who played around with computers as they might have in like the 2010s. So really happy I grew up in the time I did. But the story I like to tell is, right, my parents had this old Windows 95 laptop that they gave me when I was like 12 or 10. And the first thing I did is I got into the BIOS. I set a lock on it because I found out that, well, in Windows 95, you can set user account required for login, but you just put it in a new user account in the username field, and it just created the account and logged you in. Oh, hell yeah. Dial up. Absolutely. So, I locked them out of the computer from the BIOS level, and they were all pissed off, and that was fun. But I actually wanted to be an astronaut. I had a family friend who was on Space Station Mir in the 90s.
Cool.
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, right down from the NASA Glenn Research Center.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it was. So I was all NASA all the time growing up. Unfortunately, when it came time to choose where I was going to go to college, I'm like, oh yeah. I'm going to go and get my mechanical and electrical engineering degree, and I'll be an engineer. I knew every position on the space shuttle. What I didn't know was that when they were talking engineer, because I should have probably asked somebody this, when they were talking about engineers, they're talking about military engineers, not somebody that went to school for mechanical and electrical engineering. So I found that out after my first year of college. I was like, oh, damn.
I know what the difference is because I have a friend that, so Quinn, if you guys see Quinn's pretty regular guest, but right now he's he's a student currently. So Josh and I have convinced him to drink all of the Kool-Aid, right? So he went back to school for this, but he was a Marine and he was an engineer. So like, yeah, there's a big difference. So I know what the difference is. So what is the difference, Mark, that you found out between?
Well, at the end of the day, the functional difference is one is allowed to go on the space shuttle. The other one is allowed to go build things to go in the space shuttle.
Yeah, that's how that works. Yep. Exactly.
So after I found that out and was very sad, I realized, well, I'll go be a computer hacker professionally. I don't know what that entails, but it sounds fun. And this was, right around the time when cybersecurity was becoming a big thing. And I'm like, hell yeah, I can be a penetration tester. So I was like, well, what do I need to do to become a penetration tester? Well, I should probably go learn how to do networking and systems engineering. So I had a job at my university as a network tech. Did everything from, some IP space migrations to recabling the entire data center. Which, well, if you wonder why I was like so excited in the pre-show, he showed a picture of the lab. And the most excited I got about that was the cable management that they had on the racks. Because I was in that, like, either it was hazing or it needed to get done or whatever, but they had me recable the entire data center with custom.
And it was beautiful. Do you have pictures?
I don't, because I never finished it.
Aw, no.
I cut all the cables and they're like, great, we'll schedule downtime, and they never scheduled the downtime to replace it.
So did you do it? Did you do it the fun way where you had to crawl under panels and that kind of stuff and get a face full of air?
Yes, and also through what I'm pretty sure were asbestos-filled ceilings, but they were not asbestos-filled for any legal purposes related to this conversation.
Nice.
Don't sue me.
See, and that's how you know when the cybersecurity people are friends with their lawyers.
My last job, I got a box of cigars from our outside counsel. It was great. They were really nice too.
That's because you listened and learned things.
Yes.
Whether you liked it or not.
I fully believe in this, and you don't just have to be a network engineer. Like I can
true.
I can walk into somebody else's setup and see like active cable management happening, or that it's done, and it's just.
I would describe it as ASMR for the eyeballs.
It is. It's so nice. It makes my brain do the happy things.
I remember, or I look at cable management so often on Facebook that all of my ads now are for rack management stuff. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Okay, I don't know. I don't.
Blue, white, green, brown, red, brown, baby. That's side B.
I don't know what this is. Can somebody explain this to me? What is this?
The color configuration for RJ45. So if there's A and B, B is orange, white, orange, green, white, blue, blue, white, green, brown, white, brown. A is, and I always ever did B. It was blue, white, green, green, white, blue. No, you flip the orange and the blue. I don't remember A off the top of my head. Anyway, just do B and you're fine. Crossover cables are
that used to be a pain because back before network equipment would automatically negotiate for you. You had to be very careful. We had a whole school deal to where it was paid for by the state. So there was very little we could do about it, right? They would come in and on the patch panel, they would do one standard. And then out on the out the plugs, they would do a different standard. So we had a whole bunch of crossover cables throughout the entire college.
That sounds like not a good plan.
And if any kids are watching, this is before your network interface card could, take care of that.
That's nice. That is nice. So okay. So after doing all that stuff at the college. Or at your college level, right?
So thanks for keeping me on track, Rachel.
That's okay.
This is moderator free time.
I have to do it internally constantly for myself. There are like 17 alarms set just for me to get through a day. So you're fine.
I die without my schedule. So after that, I went to work for a company called Secure24. Secure24 was like one of the first tech startups in Michigan, right? We're talking like 2009, 2008, right? Is when they got there, and it was awesome. Like I was a younger kid, right? And it was, we would go out. Some of these stories I probably shouldn't tell. Anyway, we would have a really great time at work.
Great, that's fine. Yeah, if you need
anybody
to be
worked at, there was a
it.
conference room C, which was the bar across the street.
Really? That's a great name for a bar. Conference room C?
We had a lot of productive conversations in conference room C.
You do though.
You do.
I mean, and fun, and you build that rapport with your team a bit. Like, there's things that need to happen, right?
Yeah. When I got there, I was a Linux engineer, and there were 40 people. When I left, there were like 400. Yeah, it was nuts.
So after that, where'd you go?
After that, I finally got a job working in security, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. I've been asking around. I've been a part of that's actually where I found out about GurCon, was at Secure24. And then I met some folks there, got plugged into the community, which if you're watching, try to figure out how to break into security. I'm not saying GurCon will land you a job, but it's a really great networking opportunity. There's also a lot of great other groups like MySec, ISSA, which I'm the treasurer of. There's some really great networking opportunities around Michigan. And the rest of the United States, of course. So after that, I got this job at this company called VilePoint, which no longer exists. So I got.
You broke it, didn't you?
I did. I break everything I touch.
I'm just kidding.
Don't we all?
No. But so I was there, and that was very much a deep end type. So this is, keep in mind, the land back then was lawless, right? SANS was just becoming a thing. I didn't have any certs, but I started working on QRadar back when it was Q1 Labs. So pre-IBM days, which, depending on how you look at it, it still is the same product that was there 10 years ago, because IBM has done, I probably shouldn't say that recorded either. I'll say it. IBM has done nothing with QRadar.
No, anyway. They haven't. It's okay.
So I had a chance to really kind of dive into the deep end of the SIM world, right? Log management, writing rules, and thinking like an attacker, and trying to figure out, hey, what does good look like? What does bad look like?
Right.
And so
why is that? Wait. So for people that we may have that are like I think about Quinn, right? Going through school, my friend Quinn going through school. So what is log management?
So log management is this idea, right, of, hey, I've got all of these different data sources, audit logs or application logs, or basically some form of text that'll let me know how someone is interacting with a particular system.
Right.
Now, in and of themselves, atomically, they don't tell you much. But the idea is that if you put them all together in one bucket, you can start to look for patterns, right, across them by doing what's called normalization. So I say, well, for this log source, this is a user identity. This is the source. And then this is the activity being done. And this is the type of activity being done.
Right.
And you add some metadata onto it. And then from there, you can start doing all sorts of crazy stuff. Back then it was, all right, cool. If I have 5 failed logins followed by a successful login, I'm going to execute an alert and say, hey, security guy, go take a look at this. Now today with machine learning and, the most prescribed telemetry you can think of, it's a whole different ballgame, right? A lot of it's driven by AI now, and has been actually for about the past 5 to 10 years in terms of large market share. And it's just a really, really cool aspect of security if you're a massive nerd.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
I had to get a big data plug in there.
I love data.
Where's my bingo card? Hang on.
Why they call me Big Data.
They call me Big Data. Is that on a t-shirt yet? It should be.
It should be. That should be your standard uniform.
Oh man. I need one that says something about, you had me at good data. Like, if I got good data, I'm excited.
Good data is great.
It is.
Well, the jokes write themselves.
Sometimes they really do well. So after that, I finally got my chance. So I spent more time at BioPoint speaking at conferences. I went all over the place. This was back during the time of purple teams, which I'm not going to go into too much. And then we've got Rachel the smirk. This is also a time when I was I gave probably 30 or 40 talks, maybe less. I don't know. It's hard to keep track now.
That's not a lot at all. What are
in
you
a year and a half.
It's a lot. I'm being sarcastic. I'm not good at promoting sarcasm. We've talked about this before, where sometimes I say stuff to people about their vendor relationships, and they look at me like I'm being an asshole, and I'm not being an asshole. I'm just
no.
Anyway,
well,
I'm bad at
perspective, right? Like I'm still thinking back to like the number of friends that I have that give that many talks like it. It's
a lot,
right? Yeah,
that is a lot.
Like a week.
Yeah,
that's insane to me.
For anybody else that wasn't following along, 30 or 40 talks in a year and a half is a lot.
I might be over exaggerating that, but it feels like it was 30 or 40 talks.
That's valid. I'll take it.
Still fair. I'm taking it as fact. It's fine.
Done. Right. 30 or 40 talks.
That feels like a lot.
It honestly was. I was very lucky that BioPoint paid for some of the travel for that. Some of the travel I funded myself. It was a really good time though. It's actually where I got to meet some really, really cool folks.
Yeah.
I still remember giving that purple team talk in 2013 at B-Sides Jackson, where I got to meet Chris Sistrunk for the first time. He was still working as an engineer, and not a security or an IT engineer, but as like an engineer, he was an engineer. And God, Chris, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I think it was for an electrical,
Chris,
one of the electrical transmission companies. Anyway, I'm sure. Okay, but yeah, just an awesome guy to know. He's now one of the lead OT or the OT IR guy for Mandiant. Just a wicked smart dude if you ever have a chance to meet him. But that's kind of that benefit of going to conferences and meeting these folks is that together you help each other and you get smarter by meeting these people. But anyway, not to go off on that tangent. Man, I don't even remember where I was going with that. But anyway. Yeah, I got to meet some folks, and I'm like, you know what? I want to be a pen tester. It's been my dream to be a hacker. I've been doing some cool stuff, but like, I really want to do that. And I finally got a chance to go to Discover Financial Services and do that in 2014. So that was a really good time. We did some really fun stuff there. And then I got my dream job, right? I got to go work for a company who did some very, very specialized red teams. So, this is a company that had, a TV show. They did all sorts of crazy stuff. And, I did some of the coolest red teams there for some really, really recognizable names.
I was going to say, okay, we don't want the names, right? Because obviously, no. We just went over previously, just a few moments ago, about how important NDAs are.
Yes.
But can you talk? So you can't talk about who you did these things against, but can you talk about some of the cool moments of the things that you did?
So, there's the, at one point, I wasn't particularly involved in this one, but one of the folks actually rappelled down through a skylight into a car dealership.
I love that.
That's cool.
That was fun.
Sign me up.
The other ones, right? We broke in from the outside, added ourselves into the badge system. Then we were able to basically go up to the desk and say, hey, look, we lost our badge, right? And one of the biggest issues that you run into is you can't fake IDs. That's a federal crime. Don't do that. But what you can do is you can go ahead and add yourself into the badge system and then present your own ID. And then you're an employee. Then you can walk in and take it over. The craziest one I did, though, was for a company that has data on every American. And I walked right in past the front desk. I walked into a conference room. I plugged in and got domain admin within about 25 minutes.
Beautiful.
Congratulations.
Not terrifying at all.
Yeah, that's it was. Awesome.
You're not terrified in the moment, are you, Mark?
That?
You're not terrified in the moment, are you? You're like in the zone in the moment, though.
Oh, no. Like your adrenaline is so high at that point. Like you're just like, they're yelling at me. Well, I'm just going to keep walking like I don't hear them.
Yeah.
And guess what? 90% of the time, that's just going to work.
It does.
If somebody's yelling at you and telling you to stop, just keep going. Now, again, this is not legal advice. I am not telling you what to do. Always obey posted signs. And if you get tased, it's not my fault.
Yeah. To be clear, Mark, did these companies hire you to do this?
Yes, I probably should be clear about that. We were hired to perform these assessments. Like I had pieces of paper that said, "Hey, Mark's allowed to be here. If you have any questions, please call this number."
Right. But it was, but not everybody on staff knew that, and that was the point. Right.
And those are called letters of authorizations or LOAs.
Right.
Get out of jail.
You keep more than one on your person because security guards, physical security guards, will get understandably testy, and sometimes throw them away or rip them up before they call the police.
Yeah.
If you get
can you imagine that your company has hired somebody to do this work? And basically, it's not just network systems that you're testing, right? But you're also testing how secure the people are being. Yeah. Right. And so if you're one of the people that realizes you've let somebody get by, do you feel threatened about your job security at that point? Maybe. Do you take that hate, rage, and anger out on the person that was hired to do this? Maybe.
Yeah, and it's not, and that's kind of the not so fun side, right? Especially, if you have any sort of empathy, which is knowing that, some of these folks that are on the security team, or not on the security team, but on the physical security side, are going to lose their jobs over your assessment because they're not following policy, they're not following process. When I was telling the story about being able to walk past that guard, lots of people lost their jobs over that, which, not to bring the conversation down, right? But this is the reality, though. It's the reality of the situation, right? Your job's not, it's fun and exciting, but there's always that other side, the human element. And it sucks. And it's just something you got to understand. Like, hey, look, I'm hired to do a job, and if they were doing their job, they would still have that job. They were supposed to call the front security desk, who would escalate to the overall director of security, who would then have sent somebody to track me down.
Gotcha. So were you given those kind of policies and procedures ahead of time so that you knew how it was supposed to go, or no, that's not okay? That's after? They compare notes after?
Exactly. Yeah. So we compare notes after the fact, but in the typically what you get with these assessments, at least from my experience, and other people may have others, especially considering this was a while ago, is that they say, here's your objective, go accomplish your objective. And this objective was to gain access to a file system. Now, domain administrator was just a way to get to the file store. There were multiple other paths, and if anybody's just telling you, by the way, just as a side note, hey, look, I got domain administrator. Like, cool. What can you do with it? Right. Never accept I got domain admin as an outcome of a pen test.
Anyway. Real quick. Yeah. That I think is a good call out because I know that we have people watching from a hackathon right now. And a big call out that they were having earlier today is that there's a lot of different answers to any given question. And I think that really is something we got to underline in these kind of engagements, because when you're hired, you're getting, here's objective A. Here maybe are the list of things you're not supposed to be touching or doing. And then that maze has so many paths that all end up at the same place. It's just a good idea to underline that, I think, for viewers, especially people who are getting into this field.
Yeah.
That's a great call out. Yeah.
And there's also the other big part of this for folks that are listening and maybe really entranced where they want to get there. And I've got some other questions along those lines too, but they're not paying for you to actually get in. They're paying for the report that you will be creating to help them to solve the problems.
Right.
So when you do that, you want to keep in mind a whole lot more than just getting to into whatever you're trying to break into.
Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a really important, trend in cybersecurity, especially over the past 20 years. We've moved away from, hey, we're here doing cool shit, right? Like, we're not. Can I swear on this stream, Rachel?
Yeah, too late. I think all of us.
No, I broke 5 times. Yeah, I broke the ice on it. You're fine.
Okay, perfect. I don't even notice it anymore.
You're great.
I do it a lot. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you're not there to do cool shit, right? The business doesn't care about that. And this is actually a really hard lesson for me to learn. The business does not care about how cool your hack was, about, the number of pivots you had to do to complete your objective. No. They care about the risk and the outcome. And the outcome is what determines the risk. They want to know, here are the risks that I face. This is how much it's going to cost to fix them. And this is the, for lack of a better term, 12-month cost of that risk. So, over the next 12 months, if this risk to be realized, how much would that cost the business? Right. And that could be $1 million. It could be $600 million. Depends on the business.
Right. And that's how they pick which things to prioritize and which holes to plug.
Exactly. So if you're writing a report that only showcases this cool stuff, and then your recommendations, remediations, and risks aren't outlined well, you might as well not have done the assessment.
Right. Because it's not helpful.
No.
You're like, cool screenplay, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And man, that's tough to learn. Like, because I was having so much fun. I was excited, right? Like, yeah, this really cool thing I did. I found, a credential in a phone system that was left over from the deployment, it just sitting around in memory. And they're like, okay.
What does that mean?
Yeah. But
cool story,
it's a legacy credential, and I could do stuff with it. Like what? Like stuff? Anyway.
So from the student perspective, what I do, right?
Yeah.
So what you've done so far, you've laid out a very nice background of where you came from, how you got there. And so you probably have quite a few students online right now going, oh my goodness, how can I ever get there? That seems so large. That seems absolutely unobtainable. What would be your advice to folks along those lines?
So that's a really great question. I'm going to give you the advice that everyone's parents, I'm sure, has given them at some point or another. Enjoy the journey, not the destination. Because at the end of the day, right, the trick with security is that there is no destination. There's never an end state, and in the way that there's never an end state for being secure, right? Security is not real. It's different levels of risk management. Same applies to your career. There's never going to be an end state. So enjoy it. Find something you enjoy doing. I enjoyed network. I enjoyed Linux engineering. Before I went into Linux engineering, I was building my own systems because I had never used Linux before. I'm like, oh my God, this is super fun. And I found a job as a Linux engineer. Then, I'm like, I want to get into security. And that was one of the first security jobs that came up. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Try things out, right?
Yeah.
I know some recruiters and hiring managers and pretty much everybody's going to hate on me for this, but I'm going to say it's okay to switch jobs. If you don't like it, it's okay to move.
Yes.
Like, try it out, man. You're never going to get a chance to do it anywhere else, right? You can build all the labs you want and you can get a lot of good experience, but you are never going to know what it's like to do something in a Fortune 500 company on your own. You will not have access to the tens of millions of dollars in funding that you need in order to execute on that. So just try it out. And if you don't like it, cool.
Great again.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, some people can jump right into a specific field and be like, this is where I live. Other people are going to start at like a tier 1 and they're going to get to touch a bunch of things. And then they're going to move. They're going to move on from companies, or they're going to move on from roles. This happens a lot in incident response, where we need these core skill sets, but then we're going to have people who develop interest in intelligence or in hunting, or they're like, I'm going to go be a red team and I'm going to dive through a window and break into a car dealership. It's going to be all sorts of stuff. And I think there's a lot of stigma still around doing that, even though we understand as an industry, we move. But like the average for people in our industry is like 3 years at any given job before people start moving.
Yeah.
For pay bumps, for title bumps, whatever. So it's really interesting that there's still that stigma without understanding that, hey, this is how we grow people who are that real expert in this one area, is by letting them go through these steps.
Oh man. I love my boomer parents. They give me such good perspectives on things. I say that with a little bit of sarcasm, but like Josh, when Josh first started out, he would jump often from job to job to where my parents were like, is Josh okay? Is he not performing well at work? And I'm like, okay. And like, we try to explain it to them. They don't get it. They're like, well, you got to have some loyalty to a company. And I'm like, why? They're not loyal to us anymore.
Well, that's one of the big elements of IT, right? That is one of the main reasons why we do what we do at Pima, is because there's this large chasm of students that have gone through and they've learned stuff, theory, but they haven't been able to do. And once you try to get into the field, they're like, okay, give us your experience. And so that's why we have a student-run data center, is because you've got to get hands-on to do. But also, word of advice to students out there is that you want to be careful, because even in big companies where you think you're going to grow and think you're going to do, you can get pigeonholed real quick. Yeah, I'd like to learn about networking. Oh, that's great, but you're the HP printer guy. and sometimes you have to move to get exposure to different elements in our industry. Would you not agree, Mark?
I would 100% agree with that, Will. It is, and that's something that happened to me, right? In some cases, right? But I was extremely lucky that I worked with a lot of industry folks that kind of believed as we do, and gave me that exposure. Even when I wasn't allowed to, I really wanted to learn pen testing when I got my first security gig. So I didn't get a chance to do pen testing, but they sat me next to the pen tester, the only pen tester we had. His name was Josh, great guy. But I would just shoulder surf him every once in a while, and be like, and ask him questions, and he'd spend 20 minutes answering the questions for me. So,
Josh
it was great.
Do you know how many people I've seen in cybersecurity that, like, not lately? And plus I have been really lucky. I have managed to surround myself with people like Will and Levy and Mark and like all the guests that have ever come on the coffee table talk. They know, because I tell them, I'm like, I'm going to be politely persistent with annoying questions. Are you ready? Here we go. And they all take the time to answer them. So if you want to know where the good people are, but I have seen the not so nice humans that you're like, hey, what's that do? And they're like, shut up, I'm doing stuff.
Doing cool things, guys. God.
I know. I'm like, oh, that's neat. How did you do that? I'm not going to tell you. I'm like,
this is my job security. I can't tell you how to do it.
Right. I'm like, so you're just a sorcerer over there with your magic book of spells, and you don't want to share your spells with me?
Which, that spell that they probably got some derivative of from someone else, and then
they
just don't want to share it anymore.
That's why they don't want to tell you. It's because they're afraid you're going to find out that they too can Google things.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it was just Google, you can tell me that. That's okay. I still think it was cool.
Google dorking is a very important skill that everybody should learn.
It is. Sometimes people don't realize that just knowing the question to Google,
or
the thing to Google,
like how to format that properly. Learning how to Google or use search in general is super important. It goes along with how to query a SIM, how to query a SOAR platform, intelligence platforms. All of them have querying languages. So super important skill to grab onto is just learn how to translate those query languages.
Yep. I like what Rob said. Levy beat me to it. I don't want to tell you because, sorry, I tried to say 4 words at one time. It didn't work out. I don't want to tell you because then you will replace me. That's not always true. People
not
might
always
know the fact that you're mean and horrible and they want to keep you there.
That's probably more the reason, yeah.
So, Mark, you've been through quite a few different companies. How do you recognize a good culture from a bad culture?
Well, that's another great question. And I think you can build on that with the conversation we were just having. If I'm asking questions, am I getting good answers? When you are going into an interview, you should be asking just as many questions as they're asking. Every time I do an interview, I always take 50% of it, right? Usually they're an hour, so I said 30 minutes. But if it's 30 minutes, 15 minutes. If it's an hour, 30 minutes, right? I take half the time for me to ask questions. And then I give them the opportunity to ask questions for the other half of that time. Because it's unequal, right? You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And if they don't have a lot of questions, that's fine. But if they don't have any questions, that's a red flag to me. If I get to that end of 30 minutes and they say, well, I don't really have any other questions, I go, okay, well, we talked about a lot and you don't have anything to ask me about the company, about the culture, my perspective on something. And generally speaking, like, that's not a good look, right? No. So I have a spreadsheet full of probably about 100, 150 questions that I have prepared and that I can pull from. And however much time they give me to ask questions, I will take up that time because A, it looks good, but also B, there is a lot of stuff about a company. When you're talking about a company, for example, the size of Whirlpool, you're talking 30,000 people direct hire just in the North America region. Globally, it's, and I might be off on that number. That might be including Latin America and Asia. But globally, we were at, just from our IAM numbers for identity, like 50 to 60,000 people.
Yeah, that's a bunch.
And that's including contractors, but still point being, in a company that size, right? There's a lot of nuance. Yeah, absolutely, Rob. Hit me up after this. I'll send you a list.
Yeah. How do you feel about sharing with students?
Absolutely willing to share that with students. I'll remove some of the stuff that's more tailored towards, executives, like, hey, what's my budget control? Things like that.
And you know why? You know why Mark does that? Because he is not a sorcerer that doesn't share his spell book. He shares it.
I mean, okay,
exactly.
On a quick tangent, right? Like, I've never understood this idea of keeping information to yourself. And maybe that's because, I've started my professional career in Linux and stuff like that. But any Linux command you go to, you type MAN space the command, and it's going to tell you how to use that fucking tool. Yep. I'm sorry, if the people that built the internet, essentially, and I'm getting a little hyperbolic and preaching here.
Go.
Preach.
They can fucking tell you how to use all the tools that they built over the last 50 years. You can fucking tell somebody how your process works. That's not job security. That's just being a dick.
You know what? It's so great because I switched to the T right here.
We'll see.
You got her, folks.
We'll see how much hate mail I get for that one.
Yes, none, zero, because our audience is the best audience on the planet. I don't care if you want to disagree with me, because
you're wrong.
You're wrong, and that's also okay. You can be wrong on your wrong little path of wrongness, but no. It is. So I was holding on to it, and look, I even wrote it down. I was like, Rachel, talk about your red flag. So my red flag, I want to talk about the red flag that I hit, the worst one. And it was in the interview process. You guys, I didn't know it was there until afterwards, because I was interviewed panel style. Okay. And when you're interviewed panel style with this company, because I'm not saying this is how it happens everywhere, they don't, it'll be in groups of like 2 or 3 that'll sit with you on a call, and they'll like talk to you. That's panel style. Okay. Mm-hmm. And there was one that nobody wanted to do their panel with them for my interview. And this was a job where I was recommended by the leader of this team. Okay. To be vague, but to the point at the same time. So, and they all knew it. All of these other people knew it. And one of the red flags that happened was everybody was super awesome and nice. And they asked me fair questions. They didn't go soft on me. They asked me very fair questions. Okay. They asked me all kinds of stuff about, my contracting process and relationship building, and, how I nurtured relationships between the team and their vendor or their tool or their professional service, right? Like, they asked good questions, and I asked questions back. But the red flag came when I went, hello, it's very nice to meet you, right? Because this person didn't say anything when we got on the call. They didn't introduce themselves, nothing, nada. They just sat there like this, on call, arms folded, staring at me. And I was like, I was my normal Rachel self. And I was like, nice. So do you need a few minutes? Is there something that you need to work on or handle right now? Because they looked distracted.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were like, no, you can begin whenever you're ready. I was like, okay. So I restated what the purpose was for this call. I was like, so the other panel interview, like, and I did it in a way that wasn't like, do you know what you're doing? No? Okay. I restated it in a very like friendly way that I was like, so the other panel interviews have been going very well. I feel I really enjoyed meeting the rest of your leadership.
Everyone but you.
And I'm very excited to meet you specifically for these reasons. And I looked up some of their job history. I wanted to learn from this person. This person had been in roles and done things that I hadn't had access, like I just had never been in front of before. I was actually very eager and excited. And I said, was there anything that you would like to ask me? Right? Because I started, like, I was talking for 30 minutes and nobody else. Somebody got rickrolled. Oh, man. But I was talking for 30 minutes. And at the end of it, I was like, was there anything that you would like to ask me. I feel like I'm talking. I feel like I'm just taking up all of the time. And they were like, it doesn't matter what I ask you. You're going to be hired anyway. And we all know it. And I was like,
okay.
Oh my God.
Why is that? Why?
Welcome to the family, right?
What quota are you worried about over there?
So I was like, well, that went well. And you guys, this was literally like I had researched everybody on this leadership team because they told me who was going to interview me and I wanted to get to know them. It's a thing I do, right? I want to know you, who you are, and also be able to ask you relevant questions about your experience because I'm like 500 miles wide and 3 inches deep on different cybersecurity things. Mark, stop laughing. So you know what I touched on right there, don't you?
Both you and Will have tried to softball me into on that rant for like the past 20 minutes. Don't think I didn't notice. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay, great. So anyway, so I looked stuff up, right? And not that I wasn't excited, but I knew that I would have more opportunity to work with that specific individual on a regular basis based on what their purview was. And that was the interview that I had with them. Y'all, 3 months later, I'm so glad I was polite the whole time and I did not tell that man about himself right away. Because 3 months later, leadership had a shift and I got put under that person. That was the person.
Ow.
Oh, that's a valuable lesson, right?
Yes.
Always be friendly.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen in the future. It always pays to be friendly.
And I still tried, y'all. Every day, I was like, I showed up with my little notey book, right, digital or otherwise, like taking note, trying to learn from this person. I learned how to not treat other people. That's what I learned. After a while, I had filled my whole note. I think I learned some new things about financing that I wasn't, didn't think about on a daily basis. But other than that, I learned how to just not. That's not how you anything. Yeah, I learned honestly.
But that's where it's important to remember what Mark was talking about earlier, that it's okay to move on to something else.
It is, and right? I did. Thank you. Out of spite, did I stay there with my heels dug into the ground? You bet your ass I did. Mm-hmm. You bet. I finished building what I was going to build, and then I was like, okay, I'm done now. Thanks.
I got my agenda done. Now you can leave. Thank you.
Yeah. And it helped the team. It worked out. The rest of them were all very thrilled. It was great, but a lot of them didn't know all of the stuff that went on in the background. It was
all
bad.
Of the tea.
All of the what tea? Oh, that's not the teacup. Hold on.
And unfortunately, that's not uncommon.
No, it was rough. That person later got laid off, and I reached out to them and let them know that if they needed anything, that I was always here to help them and support them in any way possible. They actually asked me, "Why aren't you mad at me?"
Be like, I am. I'm just.
And I was like, you absolutely did the best that you could do at the time.
Petty. I'm gonna get you a sign to hang behind you that just discreetly says petty.
I am true. I if that person ever reached out to me, I actually would. I would help them or redirect them because
you're
other than their management skills, they have a lot of other skills. Management's not one of them.
Not everyone is cut out to be a manager.
But they have a lot of other like high meritable, like really fantastic at what they do. Other than that, other than how they treat people, everything else, immaculate. You guys, immaculate. It was amazing. I did learn a little bit more than just financial stuff, but it was immaculate. But no, their interpersonal, their bedside manner, if you will, was not.
No, thank you.
It's definitely. Again,
that's kind of a critical element to remember whenever you get into a position. And Mark, you've led folks, right? So enablement is a big part of things, and building that environment. How do you go about building that kind of environment?
Yeah, so that's I think probably that's a lesson they don't teach you in any lake-based certifications or other non-lake-based certifications.
Yes,
which
he said it. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, I just had to get it out there. And it's that when you're in security, right? You have this tendency, and everybody does, right, to get this myopic perspective, or this very, maybe not myopic, but very narrow perspective of, well, yeah, obviously my job of the mission. My job is to protect people. My job is to be here to do this, this, and this. And that's not your job in security. You don't protect anything. It's not your job. Your job is to do two things. Shout out to Chris Payne for this one.
Yeah.
To provide visibility and accountability.
Yep.
Everything else is secondary. Your incident response team, secondary. Security engineering team, secondary. All secondary functions.
Yep.
To providing visibility and accountability. So why do you have a vulnerability management program? Because you're providing visibility into the business. People should be patching anyway. And I know that's not, and I have that same message to all the folks back home too, right? Patching is a part of the job of IT. Like, it's a core part of the job. Security's job is to provide visibility into where some of that patching and vulnerability management may be insufficient. Risk programs are designed to provide visibility. Security doesn't accept risk. We do not decide that we need an incident response program. We do not decide that we need an EDR tool or NGAV, or I'm assuming it's okay to say CrowdStrike, even though they're not a sponsor.
Yeah, no, this is non-sponsored. This is non-sponsored, and we're partnered with everybody. You're going
to chaos.
But I
have a lot of fun with those CrowdStrike people.
They're great. I love those folks over there.
Yeah.
Falcon last year was really fun.
I've never been. I need to go. CrowdStrike, if you're listening, help
I spoke there a few years ago. Just sign up, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to go. Now I have to go. But you gotta, like, I don't know. I need funds for the childcare and a plane ticket. That's what I need.
Falcon or CrowdStrike has more money than God now, so
right? They can spare me a nanny for 2 days, can't you?
Yeah, it'll work. But yeah, right. Security does not decide that is what we need. The business decides what level of risk they want to address and how much money it's worth to them.
Exactly.
Security provides the data. The business decides the direction.
Right.
So, does that answer your question? Well, I got on another bit of my soapbox there.
I like your soapboxes. They're good. They're insightful. That's why you're here.
The problem is I don't know how to get off the soapbox and go back to the original question.
Well, that's the main part of the questions, right? Is to invoke that thought and experience.
Yeah. And then the second part of that, right, is once you take that into account and internalize that concept, you start to realize, okay, my job is enablement. I enable the business to make the best possible decisions that they can make.
Right.
It also means that my job, when the business decides to stand up an IR team, to stand up a security engineering team, because, well, it makes sense to have these risk management functions underneath the security team, I need to enable that team, right? If you're an executive and you are coming in saying, hey, this is how I need you to configure this tool and stuff like that, you're wrong. Your job is to enable your team to do the best possible job they can.
Right.
And I'm trying so hard to talk around the Office Space quote. I take the data from the engineers and I take it upstairs to the people and the executive team, right? But it's kind of your job, is you need to translate the business objectives into outcomes that your team needs to understand and execute on. So some of them are really simple and they go without saying, right? Like the business says, okay, cool, we don't want malware to be able to be executed on the endpoints. Cool. Let's configure some form of antivirus, whether that's CrowdStrike or whatever. But then they get a little more complicated. Well, we want to lock down USB ports. So I've got 50,000 people at a company. And how do I say, yep, I'm going to lock out 50,000 people from using USB? Now, at a high level, yeah, that's great. Stop a major avenue of data exfiltration. But if I go tell my team to do that and say, just lock it down, and they do that, they are not successful because I won't be successful, because there are going to be at least 40,000 people who are going to come with pitchforks and torches and burn our cubicles to the ground.
Probably.
So, at least. How do you manage the business requirement of mitigating a exfiltration avenue? Nice. Mitigating that exfiltration avenue while also maintaining business continuity and making sure that the business can still operate. Well, that's when you start to get into these deeper policies that I'm not going to go into, where you start looking at exclusion rules. You have different tiers of folks. So you have folks like, say, in marketing that'll have always on access. And you have folks that, all right, we need to have, these folks can do it, but with manager approval. These folks can do it, but with manager and security approval. And then we have folks that could never do that. Or I should say accounts, right? Because some account, maybe I don't want their admin account to be able to use USB, but their personal account that only has access to email, maybe that's okay. And that's when we start getting into a topic that I don't want to go down, which is, I'm going to buzzword you up here for a sec. Zero trust.
Where's my bingo card?
I need a little thing that says bingo on it.
Dude, I made them once. Bingo card, I would totally hit every one of them.
I used to make bingo cards for vendor calls because I was like, if I get bingo on this, I'm leaving this call. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. I've dropped out of calls that are like that. When I was at RedLegg, we were on I was on a vendor call right when Zero Trust was that white paper was released, and nope, I couldn't do it. I had to go.
I used to pass them out at work, so if I can find my old files, I'll send them to you, Rachel.
Okay, good.
I would love that bingo card too, Libby.
Yeah, I'll share.
We should do another time that you come back, and we'll just title the whole talk. We won't even title it Mark Kikta. We're just gonna title it Zero Trust: The Myth, the Legend, the Lie.
I am more than happy to talk about NGAV with integrated SASE and SWIGs as applied to ZTNA and Zero Trust.
Leaving. Bingo.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's have a conversation about one. You got to tell everybody what ZTNA is, right? And I've seen it. I've seen people in companies working on it as a project, and they're like, Rachel, will you help us talk to the vendor on this? And I'm like, I can't though.
ZTNA is implementing SASE.
Because you don't even have everything else in place, and this is an unobtainable dream that somebody who hurt you?
That's the real question. Who hurt you?
To do this. I'm so sorry that some CEO at your company heard CNN say Zero Trust, and now they're like, why don't we have Zero Trust? Oh no.
We can. I will shut all the computers down, and then we trust nobody. And we have Zero Trust because nobody can access anything.
Send everyone home and do not give them laptops on the way out.
No.
Here's your Chapter 11 paperwork, and we're good to go.
And just to bring in a different perspective, right? This gets really fun whenever folks that come from that environment end up being the main IT people in higher ed institutions.
Are there moments I need to start like a TikTok channel or an account where it's just the real, like the awkward moments in corporate? Just
oh yeah, that would fly. Just this awkward cybersecurity moments. How many bingo cards can we get through today? I feel like that would be a great trend.
It's gonna be so many. Look, you guys, Princess came and told me she has to go outside now. Look. She's like,
yeah. We're at the end of our hour anyway.
Well, when you get to that corporate moment type thing, find some way to bring in the author of XKCD. Because that would be a great combination right there. Cartoons by the plentiful.
Oh man. You guys, are we on next week? Did anybody check their calendars?
I can real quick.
You guys, I'm booked up through June. How did that happen?
I don't know. I don't have anything on my calendar for next week.
Then we might be off. That might be the bye.
Considering I'm sick, I'd like to take a nap. Thank you.
It might be a bye week. Yeah, so that's great. But the next time that we're going to be doing the coffee table talks is going to be it's another favorite mark of mine.
So many marks in a row.
It is. It'll be on May the 3rd. with Mark Liggett, who is just the nicest. You guys are going to love hanging out with him. We want to thank our Mark for today, though. Thank you, Mark.
Of course.
You have one for next week.
Oh, it's Blind Spot. That's right. Oh, it is. We have Blind Spot coming back. Okay.
So you want to hang out with me, I guess, because I don't have it.
I do have one thing to showcase real quick since Gurkhan is on the board. Here is the
did you get permission
of the new Gurkhan lucky number 13 logo.
What is up, yo? I need to mirror you. I love it.
This is the world premiere of
that got leaked. That got leaked here, folks.
That got leaked here.
If you find out that Mark got in trouble, it was not on the rest of us.
I didn't do it.
No, on the back channel, in the pre-show, you were threatening me, Rachel. You were like, "I'm going to come there and I'm going to steal it. I'm going to red team your house."
Share with everybody.
What?
I'm just saying, guys. It's on the record now.
I had nothing to do.
Speaking of that, hang out for a few minutes after, Mark. I do need your address.
Do you like how my first thought was like, yeah, sure, okay, no problem. Then I'm like, wait, what did I just say?
That sounds really suspicious, but she actually does.
Well, we can call off Guido and Cheech, so.
That's not nice. Mark has a family and they're lovely.
Only Mark we're after.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, we'll wait for Levy to drop before you share your address with me later. Jeez, I went to a dark place. Anyway, this is the QR code for Gurkhan. Go there, and then you can also have a very awesome lucky number 13 cool shirt that Mark was so nice and risked his own safety to share with us.
There may be other treats for as you show up, getting there early. I'm not making any commitments, but
go.
Be one of the first people in line when Gurkhan starts. Just
do it.
And it's going to be great. I'm going to be there. Will, are you going to be there?
I'm trying.
Will's going to try to be there. People.
There is no try. There's only do, Will.
So Will does this with me. It's unsponsored. Will also works in higher ed. So if anybody wants to start a GoFundMe that says send Will to Grand Rapids, we would be happy to share those links.
Happy.
Hey, Will, hit me up on the side. We might be able to work something out on the Gurkhan side.
Will needs a plane ticket. He can stay with me. He can stay with me, but he needs a plane ticket. I think I'm not sure, but we can ask John Davis. I think John Davis got your ticket, but Will needs a plane ticket. So,
well, if you have any talks lined up and you want to talk, let me know.
Hint, sponsor, hint.
Oh, hey, Mark, as the organizer of the talkie things, are you guys still open for talkie things?
We are still open. So the reviews begin May 1st. So you have until the end of the month. Please submit talks. You can find it on the Gurkhan webpage at the CFP tab. Fill out the Google form, and it will come to the council who will review it. And that is a council with a capital C.
I love that. That's awesome. Okay. So you're telling me that's where the coffee table talks producer should go to fill out.
And if you would like to submit a talk, you can do that.
Yeah. No, I just want to do this. I just want to do more of this.
Oh, if you want to stream this at Gurkhan, 100% we can make that happen. That'd be great.
That's what we did last year, and we were in the hallway, which wasn't bad, but I would like a not hallway.
Let's chat. I'm certain we can work something out as long as there is sufficient beer and we can have a deranged conversation.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you, everybody else, for coming and hanging out today. Go to Gurkhan, do the thing, submit talks. You want to know the coolest thing about Gurkhan? Well, you should have been here last week when we talked to Chris Payne about it, Levy.
I was sick. I am sick. I'm going to take a nap.
Go check it out. It's on the YouTubes. All you got to do is search The Human API, and you'll see my face.
Tell Chris to talk to me about art.
Go do it. And Chris Payne, go talk to Levy about art. We love you. You guys have a great weekend. Will, we love you. Levy, Mark, again, pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
That was awesome, dude.
Absolutely. I had a great time.